Okay, it is Friday, February 6th, 2026. This is the February standing meeting for the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. Let's go ahead and do our call to order and roll call, please, Madam Edie.
Okay, Dr. Crystal Davis,
Present.
Dr. Trent Davis,
Present.
Angela Johnson,
Present.
Mark McCormick,
Present.
and Jade Ramsdell.
Present.
Thank you. That means all of our commissioners are present for today's meeting. Let's move forward with the approval of the minutes from January. At this point, I hope everyone's had an opportunity to review them. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes from last month? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes from January?
I move to approve the minutes from January.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Ready for the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Minutes approved. We now have public comment on our agenda. I do not see any members of the public, so we will move forward to the executive director updates.
Chair was first. Okay. Legislative Day is this coming Monday, February 9th. We officially closed registration today at 221 people, which is a lot of people. And I know everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, so 221 people. That's a record for how many like people who have plopped down money, right? We've had 221 people show up, but the fact that we got 221 people who registered is a lot of people. So that doesn't count speakers and volunteers who I said I would cover their tickets. If any of you are on the screen, I won't ask you to pay because obviously you're commissioners. So we are as set up as we can. Everything gets going officially at 10. Registration opens at 9:30 over at docking. I know I will be on site probably around 9, and Alvaro is helping me. I have managed to round up nearly a full slate of volunteers, and so I have people who are going to be on hand to help out doing things for registration, making sure people get back and forth between the two buildings, just standing there and saying this way, this way, this way, because I know there's going to be a lot of confusion. If any commissioner is there, if they're not on program, if you could just sort of just smile pretty and be nice to people, that'd be great. I know you may not know your way around docking, but be as helpful as possible. Let's see. I know that Dr. Crystal and Angela are going to do sort of MC duties throughout the day. I would like to do just an official welcome, lots of housekeeping stuff. And then I'm going to be, who knows where I'm going to be? I'm going to be putting out fires as they pop up. So if, Angela and Dr. Crystal, you guys are in charge of that room, right? In terms of, I know we will have we will have 2 microphones available, one at the podium and one if people want to do question and answer. I have to tell you, I am not a fan of question and answer in a room with that many people. I have found through hard learned experience that when you turn the mic over to a large group of people, they will turn on you. So toss that out there. But you know what? I'm not going to be in the
Heard
room.
that before.
Yeah, Mark, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to be in the room. So if you guys want to do whatever you're going to do, live your life, live your best life. The legislative session, I know that in terms of part of my update is the legislative session is, there's not a word to describe how fast they are going. And that's why I had contacted you guys earlier about needing we need something codified in terms of me providing testimony if it's coming up that quickly as the last bill came up. Because as we all know, if I provide testimony and it goes on the governor's office letterhead, the governor's office wants to see it. And they were honestly, they were fine with what I was going to write, but they said, does your commission know you're doing this? And at that point, I was like, oh, no, they don't. And so they were like, you probably, because all it takes is for me to stand up there and for any of the legislators to say, does your commission know you're doing this? then it looks bad for everybody. That's why I, one, called that emergency meeting last week, and two, had this proposed bylaws change to try to address that. That because that bill, the bill we were specifically talking about, we found out about the hearing on Friday. The hearing was going to be on Tuesday, which meant that testimony needed to be in. Whatever. I mean, it was one of those crazy turnarounds, and that is unfortunately becoming the par for the course. And so, knowing that, just needing something codified, even if it's you guys take a vote that says if Stacy feels the need to weigh in on anything, Stacy can weigh in on anything without checking with us first. But the thing is that I need to be able to, I need to stand up there on the microphone and say they are okay with anything that I say, but I'm okay with you saying they're not, because remember, it's been very clear to me when we were rewriting these bylaws that I was not writing these bylaws for Governor Kelly and Stacey Nell and for the people who are on the screen right now. I was writing these bylaws for the eventuality that there will be a different administration and there will be a different executive director, and quite possibly there will be a whole different set of people on the screen right now. And so I want bylaws that if things flip around, that we know that an executive director can't just be like, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. Like that's like, so I'm willing to constrain myself because I want something for the fact, because I'm gonna wake up some Tuesday and I'm not gonna be here. That's it. So I want something that has it in codified that the executive director, whatever, has to at least call the chair. I don't care. I kind of don't care what, but I want you guys to have that discussion. And then my last update is on HB 2708. And that is a bill that I sent out to all you guys, that we need to at least discuss. And I also know for a cold hard fact this meeting potentially is going to run well over an hour, so we may want to address that, because if we're talking about potential bylaws and potential bills and potential proceedings and all that stuff, I just don't see us getting that done in an hour. So I don't know if we want to do that. And I kind of have a hard stop at 3, right? I mean, which is well past when we're supposed to be done, but I have a hard stop at 3. So that's it for me.
Okay. So with that heads up, we will continue through the meeting and try to be as expeditious but thorough, because we have a number of important things to discuss and process through. Is there anyone that already knows that they need to do a hard stop at 2:30 and won't be available for a continued conversation? Okay, so it looks like we have some flexibility, Stacey. And then with the items you talked about, well, I wanted to go back to legislative day update question. What was our largest attendance before? We're at 221 this year. What was the largest before?
It's hard to tell because, like, for example, the first year we went over, we weren't selling tickets. We just knew how many lunches we ordered and that we ran out of food, right? And so even at that point, we don't know what the attendance was because we ran out of food and we knew how many lunches we had. Does that make sense?
How many lunches were there for the
It was
first one?
like 240
Okay.
when it was all said and done, because the original caterer ran out of food and we commandeered someone else's lunches and ran out of those. So yeah. So this year, knowing up front that 221 people have officially said, "Hey, we're coming," is a record. We have not had that kind of pre-registration numbers.
Okay. Thank you. And then for Commissioner Crystal Davis and I will be emceeing, and for those who will be going to the hearings, I did take a look, just so everybody knows, at the list of signups. We have, let's say maybe 20 signed up throughout the different options. So we do have volunteers that will escort them to the rooms. I'm just telling them to go to the room.
No, I have 2 people. I have 2 people who have already tapped, who I know are familiar with the Capitol. And because, I've just said, deliver them to the room, and you don't have to stay, you don't have to babysit them, but just to make sure they can get to the room.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions from any of the commissioners from any aspects of Stacy's report? And then we'll have opportunity to dig deeper into the legislation in our
Mark,
new business.
Jade, Trent, are you guys coming to Legislative Day?
That's my plan currently.
Yeah, that is
there.
my city commission meeting day, and we have a full agenda with some important local issues. So I kind of need to be here. I do have one question. I did, for some reason, didn't see the agenda on my pack, but is on the agenda. I don't need it for the meeting per se, but has the issue of the bylaws been added to the agenda already? Okay.
Yes.
And yeah, I'll be there, Stacy. More than likely on the early end. That's when I'm up and ready to go anyways, and folks know that I will be out and present at this.
You see Dr. Crystal hand?
Yes, is there going to be a copy of the run of show and the bios on the podium, or should I be preparing to bring my own copy?
You
I like
should,
to read over it and be prepared.
I mean, yes, there'll be a copy, but you should definitely bring your, if there's anything that you want, you should bring it, right? Like there will be, like even for example, like we told the printer a certain number of printing things. I'm like, we most likely going to run out of print material. Like, yeah. So if you for sure want to know that you have a copy of the Run a Show, bring a copy of the Run a Show. I think I've sent it to you several times, and I can send it to you again.
Any other questions? And I'll just say with regards to how legislative day is shaping it and framing up, I know it was a lot of conversation, some angst about the changing of the format, and how that would go. Stacey, I want to acknowledge the work that you've done to make shifts in how we are delivering. I don't know if you all saw Stacey's online visual of the space, or if you had the opportunity to view the space. I know Commissioner Davis, Crystal Davis, and I had a chance to see the space. It's ideal. It really is ideal. It's really nice. In many ways, it's ideal. So I'm excited and looking forward to this revamp. I think is the language I've seen used between Stacey and Sheila approach. The feedback that I'm hearing and seeing is an excitement about it. And you know, there's that apprehension when you do something new, but also how do you enhance and improve unless you try something new, or deepen unless you try something new. So wanted to acknowledge you, Stacey, in moving that forward and bringing this together, and the increased numbers, I think is telling, of again, thinking about our purpose and mission of connecting to the Black community in Kansas, and to see a response of increased interest in advance with actually putting money where your mouth is, of registering. That's a positive. So yeah, that means we're entering into a new approach with more numbers, a little angst, but it's a positive, and you have a collection of commissioners that are going to be physically present to support and assist and do our part. And those that can't be physically present, we know are there in spirit, right? Commissioner Davis, Trent Davis. So looking forward to seeing you all. Those who will be there on Monday. Okay, let's continue in our agenda to our old business. Budget Committee cadence. Executive Director Nell.
Yeah, I mean, I think the budget committee was it Trent and I have so much pulled up. I should have pulled up that who actually is on the budget committee, and just to decide, just that we never decided a cadence, and so it's open. And I would like to have something that even we could put in make that a bylaws change that the budget committee meets X. And I don't even particularly have an opinion on what that cadence is, but just to have something.
Was the committee filled out?
That's why it's funny. Like I said, I was pulling up because there were 8 things that I sent out to you guys. So I was making sure that I had all 8 things available if I needed to share my screen. And I didn't think to figure out to look back and see who's actually on the budget committee. Do you remember who's actually on the budget committee?
I do remember, this is Commissioner McCormick, that Commissioner Westbrook was on it, but he has since left the commission.
Yes. Maybe we need to just officially just reestablish the budget committee. I don't know.
So Commissioner Trent Davis is continuing on. I do recall we talked about this. I think it was asked. I remember Commissioner Trent Davis had confirmed that he was going to continue on. I want to say it was someone else, but if no one else is recalling that right now, they would have been on this call. So I guess it's determining who is interested in serving on that committee. And also along that lines, I just realized I don't see it under the executive director update, but so along those lines too is the monthly request which was sent out to us.
Okay. Yeah, I included that.
Yeah.
No,
The
it's
monthly
it's
request for is a review of the budget as well, and then having
it's
the
radically
standing.
not up to date because like I am actively spending money on, like, I bought a nice photo backdrop. I figured I'll spend the money to get a nice photo backdrop so we could use it moving forward. Obviously we haven't paid the caterer yet, so it's you know, it's the thing about as soon as you print something, it's out of date. We haven't paid the caterer. There will be expenditures for Black Legislative Day that just haven't happened yet. So
And that's understandable at a point in time for a meeting, standing meeting update that things change, but the date on the document will
yeah,
dictate what frame.
I'm pretty sure I
Um,
sent out, yeah, yeah, as
so,
accurate as I can get it.
okay, so I would actually like to pause to go back to that because that was something that had been requested some months back to be a standing part of our meetings, is for that review. So it was sent out to everyone. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at it, but Stacey, can you just walk us through current to, as of the date of the printing, um, where we stood at that point?
Okay.
And because everyone may not have been able to see it, this went out, see 12:37, maybe you can share a screen.
So that's just everybody. Okay, go pull up everything. Okay. Do you see something?
Very
Small.
small.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So right now, this is only catching the last major expense that this is catching is the Trailblazers thing, right? So there's several sheets. So because there's two funds. So this is the health foundation expenditure, and the only money that's come out of the health foundation is this was the 1,500 for Trailblazers, and the $200 was actually for the K-Ben summit thing that you guys approved for me to go to. Then I actually got COVID and couldn't go, but we'd already paid the ticket because I got COVID like 2 days ahead. Then I want to share the other page. Just a second, I need to stop this one. Okay. Oh, here we go. I'm like, here we go. I'll make it larger. Okay. So this is the one that comes out of the state general fund. And so this includes stuff like rent. This includes stuff like water. This includes stuff like my cell phone, the state cell phone, and our internet. Some of the things that do come in, travel and subsistence and in-state travel and subsistence. This also covers my travel. This covers commissioner travel. So all the commission travel has been included in there. And it took us a while to figure out that sometimes fees get put in a different slot than even like your tolls get put in a different slot. That took us a while to figure out like how these were showing up. Yeah. So that's the situation right now. The thing that we have control over, however, is the Kansas Health Foundation grant money. Let me stop sharing one more time. And that's the one that, for example, all of the spending, one of the reasons why, yeah, all of the spending that's going to be coming out of for Black Legislative Day is coming out of the Kansas Health Foundation. When we took over the responsibility for Kansas for the Black Legislative Day, we encumbered all of the expenses. So that's the one. No, I have too many screens open right now. Okay. So the one that's actually honestly most needed in my mind, here we go, is this one. Okay, now I'll make it larger if I can make it larger. How do I make it larger? Here we go. Oop, that's too large. Oop, that's too small. Okay, are you guys looking at us? You're looking at a spreadsheet?
Yes.
So this is effectively from like the last thing that was that's like officially showing up is the TCAM thing. So in January, because we paid out TCAM at the end of last year. In January, I bought the books for the Kansas Leadership Center grant for all of the commissioners who said they needed books. This is how much we're paying for the marketing for Kansas Black Leadership Day. I printed MLK. There was expenditures to print the MLK. The social media, we had restocked our social media flyer. I printed a save the date card that went in all legislators' emails. And this is yet to be determined because I had to bump the number for the caterer because I told her 200, but now that we're over that, I'm gonna have to bump that, so that number is still to be determined. And then the fabric, the nice heavy fabric photo black backstop is 329. So this is how much we have right now remaining in that fund. This is the fund that we are actively trying to spend down because this is the fund that was granted to KAAC that it would be great if we could spend it down before the end of this current administration. And that's where we are right now. I can tell you that catering is going to be about $3,000, right? Like $3,200. So that's an ish, but these other numbers are solid. These are the green numbers that are new that are not so far showing up in the expenditure report that I first emailed out to you. Does that make sense? Because they haven't hit yet.
Is that $5,000 for marketing?
Yeah, just
Just
shy of
one-
$5,000. Yes.
I was hoping there was a decimal point in there somewhere.
Nope.
Yep.
And I will tell you, she has done $5,000 worth of work.
Yep. Okay.
All of those. I mean, she is a professional marketer, and otherwise it would have been me and Alvaro with a free Canva account.
Okay.
So like all of the graphics that you've seen on social media, that reel that was so impressive, that's because there was a professional who was shooting and mixing and doing the sound and like she knows what she's doing. And she graciously, because of the timeline and the runway that we were on, she graciously came up with a scope of work that would be fair for $49.50. Because if it went over $5,000, we had to go through procurement. It was going to take longer than we had to deal with it. So she, and I stressed to her, I'm like, listen, I can't pay you more than this, so don't do more than this work. So quite frankly, there's a lot of stuff that she developed that she sends to me, and Alvaro and I like have to figure out how to get it up on everything. She's not managing our social media. That's still me and Alvaro, but she has produced all the graphics, everything from even getting the graphic that's going to be up on the screen when we walk into docking, right? Like she's got all, yeah. I that $5,000 is the best money we've spent all year, and I do not regret a dime.
Excellent.
Thank you, Stacy. And again, this current budget that you were showing is the one that we have discretion over as we talk about spending and what we
Yes.
as commissioners can encourage spending.
Yeah. So
That
coming
is
out of yes, coming
the
out of
one
Black
that
Legislative Day, we'll have around $10,000 left, give take.
Okay. All right, thank you. And as I already shared, as I already discussed previously, particularly that report is the one that is being asked to be shared each month so that we can be aware of where we stand. Now, transitioning back into the conversation about our budget committee and the cadence, Commissioner Trent Davis, do you, well, I guess any of the commissioners, is there anyone who, this is all of us, who's interested in serving on that committee with Commissioner Trent Davis? And I think the chair by default is also a part of that committee.
If the arithmetic and rules are still in existence, I think the ED can eliminate some of us from consideration before people start thinking.
Thank you for that. I do remember that there has to be a Democrat and a Republican. I remember that stipulation. Stacy, you may be more versed to more immediately recall what the criteria would be. But that's
it.
in and of itself. But I don't recall exactly again where everybody sits with regards to political affiliation. So, Commissioner Davis, can you confirm what your affiliation is so we know who is left?
Democrat.
So it would need to be a Republican, which
Do
does
independents count as a third?
Yes. It would be,
division?
I mean, yes,
Okay.
that's not
So let me
a
rephrase.
party. That's not a party, but
Right.
unaffiliated is,
Or unaffiliated.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So let me rephrase. It would need to be a non-Democrat.
yes.
Okay. Are there any non-Democrats on? I mean, again, this is all of us. So are there any non-Democrat commissioners that would be interested in serving on the commission? I mean, on the budget committee, excuse me. And I am not seeing a response to that or eligibility for that. And Stacy, I'm Democrat chair, so I don't know the appropriateness of that either. So sounds like we need to have some further research on composition and then determine the cadence. Okay, I see a slight
Agreed.
nod.
Yes.
Okay. So Stacey, if we can, between now and next month's meeting, determine who would be eligible and then see if they would be eligible. But I think we might be at an impasse if we don't have anyone that's eligible currently. If I recall correctly, this is where we circled to last time. We started this conversation maybe a few months back, and we came to a place of we have some vacancies, and it was an issue of the composition. So with that, and that is where we landed. So that's where we also reiterated the importance in the meantime of being able to get those monthly reports so that we can at least as a full commission be able to be aware of what's happening within the budget as we were waiting for the committee to be formed based on the stipulations of who could sit on it. So we're back to that conversation. Commissioner McCormick.
Raises a question for me whether or not we are in violation somehow by having 4 or more people who are not of a different party. Like, are we in violation now because we don't have sufficient balance?
That thought went through my mind. I said, well, I'll be quiet until I do some more but
We're not in violation. We're not in violation. The appointing authorities have been notified of the vacancies.
Okay.
I don't have control.
I was just curious.
And thank you for raising that, Commissioner McCormick, because that's something to be mindful of. But I would say we're not in violation because there's nothing that prohibits us from functioning. It's just the desired the statutorial composition. But we don't have control over when people are appointed, when vacancies happen. But we're not prohibited by statute from still being able to function, except when we hit situations like the budget, where our bylaws do dictate and state what our responsibilities are based on party affiliation. But so we're kind of at an impasse of not being able to move in that case. But generally speaking, we should still be able to function as a commission in the meantime as we await those appointments.
I won't
Is-
follow up, please. Was there discussion, Stacy, about whether or not um, someone from the majority party in the legislature would be nominating people to replace the two Republicans who left the commission?
Those are the appointing bodies, and they have been notified,
Okay.
right? Like,
They've been notified, but there was no indication that they were going to appoint new
right,
people.
like,
Okay.
I don't have any sway. I don't have any influence. I don't have any. There's no pressure point for me to push. All I can do is notify, right? Like, if it's a governor's appointee, I know all the levers to say, hey, the governor needs to appoint, the governor needs to appoint, the governor needs to appoint. But I don't have any, I don't have influence over the other appointing authorities. All I can do is say is you have a vacancy, and the appointments office. If you guys know people, I mean, here's one thing that I have done is I have tried to encourage, as we have as a part of our priorities for the last 2 years. I have for sure tried to encourage people to apply to get in the pipeline. But again, I can, hey, please apply, please apply, please apply, but I can't make people apply.
No, I didn't mean to
So,
imply that. I just
yeah.
wondered if there were any discussions on the part
Oh,
of
yeah.
those entities
Yeah.
to
And
replace the
the
people
official
who stepped
response is
down.
that we're not in violation as long as we make quorum. Like that's the official response out of the appointments office is, well, are you making quorum? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, that's the only thing that actually dictates whether or not we can operate is if we have a quorum, according to the appointments office. So their question is, because as soon as someone resigns, I get the resignation letter, I send it off and say, hey, this person resigned. All right, then we need to notify the appointing authorities to say, hey, there's a position open. I even ran into one of the appointing authorities at the docking opening and said, hey,
By the way,
but if I can't, yeah, that's all I can say. I can't make people move.
Commissioner Trent, they might be able to get someone in the Attorney General's office to just give you a quick opinion. Considering our current makeup, if the rules, could legally be stretched to allow us to form the committee.
I can ask governor's office legal. I know the official response is we are fine to operate if we make quorum. That is are we in violation of anything? If we make quorum, we are fine to operate. That quorum is more important. When I have asked across the street, the thing that has been more important is, are you making quorum? If you're not making quorum, then we're in trouble. Well, we're not in trouble, but we have to deal with that because we can't meet.
I think in hearing all of this, we are at an impasse because we can't make the appointing leadership in the legislature appoint. They have been informed and notified that there are appointments needed, or open appointments, but we can't make them appoint. Again, going back to what our statutory obligation is, as Stacey has shared, as long as we could handle the business of the commission. With regards to the bylaws, that really was a checks and balance type approach, but it's not a statutorial requirement. It's a commission bylaw, how we want to do business requirement, which again doesn't prohibit us from being able to do the business of the commission. It was just a checks and balance to hold us accountable and mindful of the budget, which goes back to, again, why I think because of where we are at this impasse that is out of our hands, and Stacey has done the due diligence with notifying those that are impacted that there's an appointment needed. What I feel our responsibility would be then is, again, ensuring that each month we get those updates from Stacey, from the executive director, on where the budget currently stands. And we just continue to track and monitor. I mean, be aware of that in the meantime before we have a committee that's doing that deeper dive analysis. We can do that as a full commission. It's not like we have a ton of spending anyway, too. So just as we went through the budget, that we do have discretion and the opportunity to have some impact in determining where it goes, that last sheet, we just ensure that every month we do that. I think that's a responsible approach for the commission, the current commission, um, to be able to move forward with knowing that we are mindful and checking out the budget and understanding the budget and moving forward responsibly the work of the commission from the budget perspective. So is there any other thoughts or feedback regarding budget and even what's on the old business of the committee? We can't form the committee based on how we framed our bylaws. But that doesn't stop us as a full commission from having a monthly update from the executive director, which has been asked already. Okay, I'm not seeing any additional feedback. My understanding of what we're going to be doing moving forward related to the budget is, again, Stacy will have a part of her standing updates, that monthly budget that we do have the discretion over, that we will just stay in tune with. Okay, moving forward to old business item B, Dr. Crystal Davis's planning brief to draft future town halls. That was also included by our executive director in our packet. I hope you all have had a chance to look at it, and just a quick refresher of what this is about. What we stated as a commission is that during the spring, each district would host a spring event to be able to connect with our respective constituents, to highlight the work of the commission, and the ultimate goal to understand from our constituents what are the priorities, what are the areas of concern, and how can we begin to formulate what our priorities as a commission will be moving into our next program year beginning in July. So Commissioner Davis, Crystal Davis, thank you for a really thorough approach. And I will turn it over to you to discuss and talk about what you're proposing as an approach for yourself and what the rest of the commission can follow as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Crystal Davis, Commissioner Davis. And I'm really excited to have been thinking about this for some time. I think I spoke to ED Nell, right? Almost when I came to the commission, and because a lot of my thoughts were around, what we do, how do we get our constituents to understand first who we are, and what we do. And I have been very fortunate and blessed to be under the mentorship of a former commissioner, um, Sarah Daphne Maxwell, who has been a blessing to me in terms of her experience on the commission many years ago, and just ideas, a person and a place to land thoughts, ideas, previous experience, and things, ideas to help us move forward in respect to Kansas citizens in Congressional District Number 2. So I've been thinking about this, jotting things down since that day, and finalized this again draft. I want to say draft several times, brief, as I seek really advice, feedback, approvals, other ideas, what can be done, what can't be done. And I want to say that, and this may be incorrect and may be an edit that needs to happen to this, but I saw that Commissioner Ramsdale is also representing Congressional District 2, so I wanted to be inclusive of her, and that's why you see her name and my name as representatives in Congressional District 2. So is that, first of all, correct, the information that I saw? Because I'm not aware, Commissioner Ramsdale, of your political background.
That's correct. Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, great. And what you may choose to do and not do, Commissioner Randall's, I thought about it, and this is my mistake, I guess, is I should have sent this to you also ahead of time because your name is listed there, and wanted to make sure that you were fine with it. And anything that you are not fine with, I'm happy to also make those edits. So just trying to remember the purpose, our alignment with our CAC priorities, some potential questions that we could have as pre-questions for citizens in this district who would attend. I've been able to speak with Pastor Dr. Larry Jones at Second Missionary Baptist Church for use of the fellowship hall there for this Saturday. I'm saying April. Again, everything here is a draft. When I have the necessary approvals from this commission, I will go back to Dr. Jones to solidify a Saturday that is appropriate, whether that's April or not. And so I have thought through surveys, I've thought through potential questions, I've thought through disabled citizens who may want to attend, I've thought through food, I've thought through a potential budget and things that we would be needing. Some of those things on the budget require money, like cash, while other things are some in-kind services that the church and the Black Student Scholars Association from Bethany College are willing to volunteer in terms of social media, video, and pictures during the afternoon. I have potential guests that we would invite, which includes community organizations across Congressional District 2, as well as in the community of Junction City and Salina specifically. And so I thought through what budget category things that we might need, kind of leaning on my previous and event planning expertise. And so again, this is a draft, and so really looking forward to your feedback here as I just kind of organize ideas into this brief of what could happen, what should happen, and your feedback from those things. So I am happy to, take questions or thoughts about the brief. Thank you. Yes, yes, sir, Commissioner McCormick.
I agree with Jay. This is incredibly thorough. And it's something that I hope we hold on to and file because it's a nice template for anybody who wants to host a town hall in their respective district.
Thank you.
I
Commissioner
agree.
Ramsdale, I put your name here because we were both in the district, so I thought we tag team. Again, I apologize. I should have sent that to you earlier. But I was just thinking it's our district, and so, we should, hold the fort down. So thank you in advance. I apologize about that.
Absolutely. I appreciate it immensely. This is wonderful. And yeah, I would say I definitely agree with Commissioner McCormick as far as filing it away. It creates a great outline for how to do this in many regards. So I definitely will be utilizing it.
Yeah, thank you. And so if there's no other comments, as far as that, I'd like to scroll down. Well, we are at the budget. And Executive Director Noel, if you would scroll down just a tad bit there, I am definitely seeking feedback from the commission on these items in terms of, what can be covered, if there's spending limits, any pre-approvals from the commissioner or the executive director, and then any other requirements, approvals, and then your feedback. So those are the kind of the things I'm seeking answers to at this time. And how and when it should be approved so that I may continue forward in the planning to solidify dates and obviously continue with the planning of the town hall. Thank you.
Before we go into the budget, just some of the practical things with how you formatted this. Again, this is awesome. I concur and agree with my fellow colleagues here in the framing of this. My thought and my question, I have two things. One, again, because the intent of this is for us to be able to understand the thoughts and sentiments and experiences within our respective districts, but also how do we collectively come together to identify priorities for the commission as a whole across all districts. So with that in mind, I see you have a survey. I'm wondering how to ensure consistency across how we do this. That way, the data that's gathered is the same data that's being gathered for us to consider our collective approach for the commission.
Absolutely.
So I saw one of the tools you were I see your questions. One thought is appreciation of your questions being very specific, some of them being very specific to what we've already identified as our current priority areas, and then others extending beyond that. But just ensuring that we allow open opportunity for things that maybe we haven't thought about or haven't part of our current mindfulness that may come from the body. So just being mindful of that as we think about what we ask and how we ask it, both in the actual setting and the survey. So that's a
Yes,
long way
thank
to
you
think
so much.
about in
Yes.
processing. Have you already framed what the survey would be, or is that something that and some additional work that we as a collective can do to frame what this survey can be that we all can utilize so we can get some shared data.
No, thank you very much, Chair Johnson. That's a great question. And I think that that's good work that we can do together. Because this was the survey was thought just from like this town hall, but as we are, saying now that this could be a potential template, then absolutely we should work on, questions that will span across districts in terms of the survey. And Stacy, if you would mind scrolling to what section? I think it is the run of show, which is probably near the end of the document. I wanted to just point out for Chair Johnson that I think we have scheduled in, if I'm not mistaken, sometime. And obviously, I've put a lot of pre-questions there, and time may not allow, obviously, for all of those questions. So maybe that one or two or three could be picked from those pre-questions. But then we also, I think, if I'm correct, built in time to take questions from the body and take questions from the audience. And I did have the safeguard of Executive Director Nell there. If there's questions that are overall commission related or beyond my scope of knowledge to answer, or you, Chair Johnson. So I built that safeguard in for Commissioner Ramsdale and myself. If there's things that, go a bit over our head. But then also, and Stacy, if you please scroll just a little more, of course, National Black Anthem overview of KAAC, and then some questions from that Commissioner Ramsdale and I could field, but then also I have as a part of like the supplies and stuff to have paper and pen where members in the audience can ask questions directly, and there will be additional mics there for people who want to stand and speak. But then we also have the option for disabled or other challenged people who would prefer to write it down and have it read by the MCs, and have their question read and then also answered. So I think that Commissioner Chair Johnson, that is at 11:50, also did incorporate a window. Kimura, I think she does an excellent job. I think again we can. I think, but again, this is a draft. We can hear her over and over and over again because I think she brings great information. And maybe not everyone who will attend has heard window or information about the voter engagement spotlight. So added her, but again, open to consideration by the commission. So yeah, right at that 11:50 point, we have some guided questions. I put a lot there, so obviously not all of them. And then Stacey, if we could scroll just a little bit more, I want to say we did also leave time for open committee questions at 12:05. Chair Johnson, you see there are a few moments to moderate open microphone. And again, very open to how it should go and things that should happen with commissioners who have greater and far wider experience than I do. Thank you, Chair Johnson.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or feedback before we shift to this question specific to Stacy on budget and spending and things along those lines? Okay, Stacy, we have questions for you. What can we do? So Stacy, this is weird. It's doing it again. You are off mute, but I don't hear anything. Does anybody else hear her?
No.
Okay. And we know you know how to sign. The rest of, well, I speak for myself. I don't know what you are signing. So in the meantime, us. So
Okay, what expenditures? Great. Stacy, if you would mind, Executive Director Nell, to scroll up to that potential budget table. I think it's back up near, yeah, here. Thank you. So definitely, I personally, so this is personal now, not as commissioner, I prefer something more than cookies and punch. And I know Executive Director Nell, has said that before to me and to us But I really prefer to have something a little heavier than that. So that would be a question, Executive Noel, in terms of, budget. And these are just estimated dollar ranges. Like I didn't get this from anywhere. Basically, just, thought through them. So no average from anything, specific. And then I thought about with printing, in terms of like, the agenda, a sign-in sheet, the feedback cards where people who may not want to speak by microphone will want to write their question down and or provide any other feedback on a comment card that maybe they didn't want to say out loud. We can do the survey obviously by QR code if that is what we decide. And then I know we have some informational, I think we have informational stuff about KAAC that I've seen at other events, Kansas Back Legislative Day and the information that Stacy has brought for us to inform people, right, about, I have some of those same documents that I've posted on my social media. So chat, oh, chat, okay. Let me go to chat. What expenditures? Easy answers. We have around 10K left to spend. I can say that brunches cost around 4K, keeps at 7K. So yes, thank you, Executive Director. So I wasn't going to spend that much on a brunch. And as you see there, I have like bottled water, juice, coffee, light pastries, fruit. And I have some folks in mind who are caterers, were Black entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, who would be also offering the commission discounts to be able to serve in that capacity. So definitely not anywhere near, thousands of dollars, Stacy, for that. And then I just so printing of things, and I know that Stacy may have some of those cards and information flyers, about KAAC with QR codes and all. I've seen, that before. I don't necessarily, I put name badges there, but maybe not necessarily. I mean, it's a luxury to be able to have people write their names so we know who we're talking to, but maybe not a necessity. I definitely think, and I certainly can help with pens. I have a million, but some paper, and then some directional signage potentially that we could put in front of the church that says, "Hey, welcome to the town hall." And then the church is in kind in terms of microphones, sound system, podiums, and they can, if allowed, document for their own purposes, being a part of a community collaboration for town hall, as well as we have commitments from Bethany College Bass students. Jackson City is less expensive than Wichita, for example. Absolutely, absolutely. So, one more, okay. I would suggest deciding how many events total you want to do, then divide it to make decisions. Okay, I see that too. Because you're right, Director Neal, that maybe a town hall in Wichita would be more expensive than a town hall in Junction City or where our other commissioners are located. So yes, I think that's definitely something we should think about. So budget items, yeah, basically my thoughts of that is around the food and printing for the most part. And then of course you all see the other in-kind things that we would get from Second Missionary Baptist Church. So as Stacy said, and I agree, I guess the discussion really is around this specific town hall for Congressional District 2, but then our chair has said, and Director Neal, that looking at this as a broader template for all of the districts, in which case then we would look at, as Director Neal said in the chat, about our remaining funding we have left to spend and how that might be divided, amongst potential town halls with all of us. So I am looking at it at two perspectives, from this one that will be in Commissioner Ramdale's and my district, but then also the wider picture for all of our districts. So I can take questions or we can engage in that, Chair Johnson, however direction you'd like to go.
Yeah. So Stacy, I don't know what happened to your mic. That was weird. You were fine and then you weren't. But thank you for the feedback in the chat. What I would recommend for us is to establish a budget for each of the district events. we have said that there would be one in each district. Though I know our districts are big. I'm trying to think where Commissioner Davis is compared to where Commissioner Ramsdale is. And is that really one or is that two? You all would have to speak to that, but um, determining a budget. And I know Stacy mentioned that we're anticipating, Executive Director Neal mentioned that we're anticipating having about $10,000, but I don't necessarily want to exhaust the bank. But I do want us to have, a clear understanding of what we can and what we can do. I'm almost thinking a budget of, let's say, 1,500, maybe 2,000. Well, that's doing one event in each of the four districts. That'll put us at 8,000 max, giving us 2,000 still to work with for some things for the remainder of the year. Um, and with establishing what our budget is, that can help us to move forward. Then I'm wondering more practical things, which I really need Stacy's voice for. As we're talking about printing and food and catering, is that something that our executive director would coordinate across the state, or do we do it and we're supposed to be reimbursed, or do we get purchase orders? Like, those practical, can't see that chat.
It, if this is Commissioner Trent Davis, I'm looking at the items on the budget, and if you remove food, it looks like there's certain staples that are going to be present at each town hall. Printing, obviously, if the executive director goes, her travel, audio visual. I mean, just those seem to be the same no matter where you go, and depending on where you host it. Like in the case of a church, large churches have that equipment and are more than willing to, let it be used for free. Sometimes you can get local organizations, if you co-promote, to share in some of those expenses. Food is a big expense. I mean, it attracts people, but it'll eat up a budget pretty quickly. I don't, because this is it's early in the year, and I'm guessing we want to save some of that money for. I mean, are we allowed to do anything other than educate the public on the constitutional amendment issue? All right, so I don't know how much money we'll need to spend to educate the public on that issue, but well, there are always going to be issues, but want to save some. I guess the one I'm thinking of in Solano, I had it in my head, and I saw this outline and said, "Ooh, I guess I better get back to the drawing board, or just take hers, erase all of her information, and start filling in mine on the same template." But I would think if I could get $1,000, from the organization, that would be more than enough, unless we get into food, and that's where just hope someone local can help with the food.
Thank you, Commissioner Trent Davis. What I am thinking, and what I wonder if anyone would be willing to propose, I don't think as chair I should be proposing, but what I'm thinking is allocating $1,500 per district for the hosting of an event. Now, again, you all know your districts, and is one event really going to suffice based on distance and attendance? And I know, I don't know. But so I don't know if we had an allocation of 1,500 per district or 1,500 per event, with the understanding of which districts may have multiple locations to host in. But us moving forward with establishing a budget, and you spend that budget as you see fit. If you want to do if you want to do a 7-course meal and you can make it happen for $1,500, do your 7-course meal and make it happen for $1,500. If you're going to do popcorn and punch, and spend your dollars elsewhere, your 1,500 elsewhere on some real stellar AV lights and bells and whistles, you do that. But you have $1,500 to do or whatever we decide to do to frame it as you see fit. So that way we can have that framing, and especially want to help Commissioner Crystal Davis and Commissioner Ramsdale because they're already in conversations to be able to move forward and solidify. So I would like to be able to make some sort of vote to know dollar wise what we're looking at to assist them in being able to move forward with establishing some commitments.
That's really, they would probably spend more in Wichita than I would in Salina. So the spending may not be equal. I mean, I certainly don't need more than one meeting in Salina. And I was just thinking about the size of Wichita compared to Salina and said, yeah, you could easily have more than one meeting there. But I mean, the 1,500 is a reason. And it's up to. It doesn't mean you have to spend 1,500, but you have up to that to spend.
So is there, I'm going off of Stacy's chat, and also want to do a quick time check. It's 2:32, and I know we have some hard stops at 3, and we still have some topics to talk about. But is our commissioners comfortable with establishing a budget per district to begin to frame what we're looking at as far as cost wise? And if so, if someone could make that motion, so we can go ahead and solidify that aspect, and know that we have this tool for the framing that has been submitted by Commissioner Crystal Davis to help us in framing our own respective events beyond the budget.
So moved.
I'll second that, Commissioner Trent Davis.
So it's been moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question? Well, pause. What are you moving? What exactly are you recommending, Commissioner McCormick? Because there was a couple of options that was put out.
You had asked that we make a motion that we set standards for the costs of these events.
And what is your recommendation for that cost?
Oh, I thought we had decided, based on what money we had left, how much each district would have.
And that's why I wanted to pause and make sure I'm clear, because we don't know exactly how much we have left. When I was thinking out loud, I did a recommendation initially of between 15 and 2,000, 1,500 and 2,000. I think I said after that 1,500. So we can have a specific dollar amount that we want to allocate per district as a part of that motion, so we have clear understanding of what the budgets will be.
Well, I don't want to speak for anyone else, and I think Dr. Crystal Davis made the point earlier that it may cost more in Wichita than it might in Junction City or even here in Johnson County. So there's a range. I'd be open to a suggestion about the range. Stacy put something in the chat for us to.
And this is for the full, like what we did with the brunch series, the full-fledged brunch, assuming that's the approach that we want to have.
Commissioner Trent Davis here. At those prices, unless you're getting 5,000 people coming out and feeding them for $1 a person, that would, 2 cities would clean out the bank account.
Yeah.
I think we go back to, it's a budget amount. And also thinking beyond the box, you can look at possibly co-sponsoring, with other entities and organizations that may take on some of the cost or do things in kind. But from what our budget will allow, based on the estimated, it's not even definite, $10,000 as far as our remaining budget for forever and a day, because we have nothing else coming in that we would have discretion over. I think we need to make a determination of an amount that we would be willing to contribute, and we take on the responsibility of how that is spent. We take on the responsibility of looking for co-partnerships or collaborators that could also take on and incur some of these costs within our respective districts. But as far as what KAAAC can do and what KAAAC can commit to, I think we need to think about it from the framing of we have roughly, and I keep saying roughly because we don't know, $10,000. That is all we have, period. We have no other income coming in or anticipated at this point. So based on that, knowing that we need to do 4 events, I'm going to again ask if there is a motion for a specific amount not to exceed. You can use less, but not to exceed a certain amount to go toward this. And I know I'm in Wichita, the expensive one. My framing is if it's just me coordinating, I have $1,500 to figure it out.
Right. This is Commissioner Trent Davis. You know, I think setting it lower at 1,500 forces us to be a little creative as far as promoting and getting people out for a reason other than just to come get breakfast. And I would set it. I mean, when you look at the, you know, if I had to answer to legislature, so of course this was not their money, but so okay, I can understand you wanted us to print up stuff and you wanted somebody to travel, you wanted someone to speak, but you know, we don't really like spending $5,000 for 4 breakfasts. That's not really pushing our policy or our mission. So I would keep our money focused more towards the true mission of our organization. I think 1,500 is great. I mean, if you could get, you know, former president or somebody to come speak at your town hall, and you need an extra 2,000, we'd have to meet again and say, yeah, let's give them an extra 2,000. But otherwise, I mean, the money just isn't gonna be. I was rather shocked at those prices for those costs for the other organization. I'm guessing food was the bulk of that, unless they had it at a hotel.
Catering is expensive, and I understand too what Commissioner C. Davis is saying. With food is a draw, and I get it, and we want to be able to do more. But I think with our limited budget, you know, maybe that's the priority of where, you know, a particular commissioner's funding goes is towards securing the meal, you know, making the experience be what it is that you want it to be. But we need to do a framing based on the resources we have. I do see.
Or it could be a lunch and learn, you know,
Okay.
bring your lunch, we'll provide beverages, you know.
In the chat, but I don't have a motion that we could vote on to move this part forward, if that's the desire of the commission.
Well, unless Commissioner McCormick want to amend his motion to include $1,500.
Yeah, I will amend my motion to establish a spending standard of no more than 1,500 for each of our events in our respective districts.
Is there a second?
And that second would still be there. Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there a question? Are you ready for the question? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, it's been passed. We have a budget of 1,500 for our respective events, and an encouragement for let's look at sponsorships and let's help each other in thinking through how we can perhaps get additional dollars so that we can have the type of event that we're envisioning in our respective districts and support one another in trying to make that happen.
I'd like to ask one question if I could, Chair. I noticed on the invited guest for the Wichita one, the Salina NAACP was listed. Is the city of Salina being invited down to Wichita for this?
I apologize, Commissioner Davis. This is Commissioner C. Davis. That was an error because Salina's in District 1. So that's an error that will be corrected.
Well, I was, you know.
And it's in Junction City, Commissioner Davis. It's in
Yeah,
Junction City, not in Wichita.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
You know, it's those two cities might want to co-promote anyway. I mean, pull that 1,500.
That's a real thought and consideration. You know, there may be some collaborative opportunities. You all just got a $3,000 event. But you know, let's be open to think about that as we now have solidified framing. Again, thank you so much, Commissioner Crystal Davis. and we have our respective budgets. So thank you, everyone. And we have some
And,
perspective from Executive Director Nell on the logistics of making this happen now since we have some budgets.
and may I just ask one more question, Chair Johnson, and thank you so much, and thank you everyone for your vote of confidence in this as a template. And then as Commissioner Ramsdale and I move forward with the town hall for Congressional District 2, I'm out of the gates and moving. Actually, 1,500 is what I didn't even think I would get. So watch what happens with 1,500. My final question, Executive Director Nail, is when we talk about the printing, just for clarity, um, is part of that budget for things we'll request for printing also going to come out of that? And is it going to be provided by KAAAC? Or should I be using a different printing company? Or what is your thoughts there? I know that KAAAC has some things.
Say it again.
We
No.
can't hear you, Stacy.
Can't hear.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
She's
I
gonna
think
put it
that's
in chat.
her chat sticky. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as she is adding that to chat, if you all don't mind, like I said, I want to be mindful of time, and time is flying, because we're now at 2:42. Stacy's Executive Director Nell is going to be responding in the chat with the response to your question, Commissioner Davis, and then we can continue to follow up via email on those practical matters of now since we have these things solidified, how do we make it happen? Okay, I am going to go back to our agenda as soon as I find it in my many windows as well, where our next old business is the KOC grant openings and the application process. I know Stacy's having some mic issues, so I'll go with what I think she meant in this, in that we still have our slots available. She did send the flyer. I'm not sure if I've seen it yet. So I'm not sure if the flyer has gone out publicly yet. Stacy, can you nod or yay or nay to invite, nay, okay, to invite others based on, okay, think I got a finger. Yep. Okay, so this is the flyer that has been created. And again, thank you, Commissioner Crystal Davis. I think this was your handiwork to have got this initially framed for us. This is the one to go out publicly via our social media channels as well. So look at the chat. Okay, so we have to approve this going out, is what is being communicated. So again, this was created by Commissioner Crystal Davis and framed containing all the information as far as how we can encourage the public to participate in this training. It's ready to go out. Almost. There's a small typo to get the final flyer, but this is the basic framing. The last conversation was that we would push this out to encourage people to respond to Executive Director Nell with expressing their interest. And we making these spots available because it is a series of classes that start at different times between now and I believe the last one was in September, October. We talked about doing a push for spring again later on, or push for winter now. Later on in spring, do another push out to encourage individuals to participate. We also mentioned extending an invitation directly to window and those who are connected to the work of KAAAC, specific invitations to encourage their participation as well. I'm looking at the chat to see if I'm catching or missing anything. So if the commission is comfortable and ready for this to go out, so we can begin, and this is something that I'm excited about because this is something that we can offer out to our constituents. We had talked before about allocating certain number of spots to each district. The last conversation we had is that we didn't necessarily feel that was necessary. We push it out. If you have people specifically in mind, as a commissioner, you can reach out to them directly and encourage them to participate, but really just leave it open. We don't have to frame a complicated process or a big, huge process for this. It's pretty simple and straightforward of making the opportunity be known and allowing those who have interest to make it be known to our executive director, who will then connect them to how they can register and acquire their materials to participate. So with this being the case and shared, Commissioner Trent Davis.
Thank you. I had shared, we had something similar to this, I guess the last meeting or sometime before, which I'd shared with two people in Salina. I noticed this one has the February 9th deadline. If this is going out publicly at 3:01 this afternoon, that gives people the weekend to be notified and apply, right? Is that
So
a hard deadline?
the logic behind the deadline was to encourage people to have some sense of urgency to apply and not forget. So it's not a hard deadline, though it is a deadline that's in advance of the first session, I believe, our 24 session. So
Okay.
with Commissioner Crystal Davis, as you're doing the edits, feel free to adjust that date. We just want to have some sort of a deadline to be able to encourage people to respond. Um,
Okay, thank you.
so I trust Commissioner Crystal Davis will know how to make the adjustments to all the dates to capture, allowing more time. And then once that's updated, it would be provided to Stacy to push out again via the social media channels and the email distribution list, Stacy, too, if that's possible, if you can do that too, so that people can be aware of this opportunity that's coming from the commission. Any other thoughts or perspectives? I don't think this needs a vote per se, but just an awareness and agreement of the path forward, and then encouragement for us to push it out within our own respective networks. Okay. Any further thought on this item before I move to the next item? Okay, seeing none, finding my proper window for the agenda. Okay, we're transitioning to our new business with 12 minutes to spare. Let's go into that. We are in receipt from our executive director of some proposed bylaws, and specifically proposed bylaws to change to clarify how and when the commission engages with legislation. Now, Stacy, I hope you had your mic together. I'll kick this off, but I want you to be able to speak. But she did share earlier on, and we are aware that we are in the legislative session, and there are things happening, and things are happening quickly. And there are things that tie and connect to directly to the work in our focus areas, as well as directly to, as we've recently learned, the commission itself and how we are situated and our role and how we do what we're tasked with doing. So with things happening so quickly during legislative sessions, what executive director has proposed is an amendment to the bylaws to give her more ability to speak on behalf of the commission and to advocate for those things that align with our priorities, what our mission and objectives are, and those things that have impact within the community that the executive director feels are key, that a response is necessary and needed. And so what has been highlighted is section B. Let me read out loud. In circumstances where proposed or pending legislation arises outside of the commission's formally adopted legislative priorities, and where legislative hearings, testimony deadlines, or other actions occur prior to the commission's next scheduled meeting, the executive director may take limited action on behalf of the commission, subject to the conditions outlined below. And she has outlined different conditions. One being that it's provided that her engagement is to provide informational, neutral, or contextual testimony. That her engagement or the executive director's engagement is to submit written or oral testimony identifying the commission's interests or concerns. 3, offer technical, historical, or subject matter expertise related to the commission's mission. 4, communicate with legislators or legislative staff to clarify the impacts of proposed legislation. And again, recognizing the quick and fast nature of happenings within the legislature, within the legislators, within the House and Senate, tongue tied, to be able to give opportunity for her to respond in the best interest of KAAC and what KAAC is standing for. She's highlighting that things that she will not, and the executive director should not be able to do, which is commit the commission to a formal position or support or opposition unless a position aligns with existing legislative priorities or previously adopted commission policy. Represent testimony or communication as an official position of the commission when no such position has been formally adopted. Engage in advocacy that conflicts with the commission's mission, statutory authority, or prior commission direction. And then in summary, to ensure that there's no official position taken by the executive director on behalf of the commission unless authorized by the commission, and that any activities of the executive director is then communicated at the next regular scheduled meeting. And she's also highlighted this isn't about taking positions without the commission. It's about making sure that the commission isn't silent simply because the calendar does not cooperate. I see Commissioner McCormick's hand. Yes, Commissioner McCormick.
This is Commissioner McCormick. I just wanted to say that it does seem to me that the main issue here is just making sure that whoever is in that position makes clear when they are speaking for themselves versus speaking with the voting majority of the commission. It just seems to me that that's the main issue there. The attribution of any kind of comment, whether it be to that person individually speaking, making clear they're speaking before they've had a chance to discuss this with the balance of the commission, or if they're speaking, or if we're speaking as a commission in one voice.
Thank you, Commissioner McCormick. Any other thoughts or clarifications? Commissioner Trent Davis.
Yeah, Commissioner Trent Davis. I would think if the ED was speaking without having had any prior conversation with the commission about the topic, or if it was something we had not discussed before, unless it was just a technical answer to a technical question. I think the way this is written, that would sort of be an area where the ED would not speak out. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we discuss a lot of things. I'm sure ED knows generally how we feel about most major topics. I mean, if there's any gray area, you can always have the ED reach the chair. I mean, so someone knows. But when things happen quickly, as far as giving testimony, there are not a whole lot of things that come by that we haven't discussed, even if we haven't taken a formal position or directed her to give testimony on. I'm assuming this is somewhat similar to what the ED has had to do in the past several years, just because the calendar does, catch us unavailable.
Executive Director Nell, you're off mute. Can we hear you now? Still can't hear you. Okay.
Can she call into one of our cell phones and go that route?
She can call into the Zoom itself and let that be her voice. Yep. So as she is doing that, something to be mindful of as well is, if we were in full composition, we would be comprised of commissioners who have different ideological perspectives and lenses on how to advance the work of the commission.
Right.
And that also includes the executive director. So as we're thinking through this, we want to also think through it from the lens of not only how it applies right now, but how it can apply in the future if there is different voices and perspectives, lenses in how the commission does its work, and in turn, how the commission itself as a collective may want to respond to pending legislation. So I'll throw that out there and pause, see if there are any other thoughts. I'll also take note that it's 2:55, and I think I heard there are some hard stops at 3. So let me come back to Executive Director Neal. What you need a vote from, you need some, because this thing's happening real time right now, as we know. Are we still locked at 3 o'clock? This needs to end.
Yeah.
Okay, she's ready to try to call in. Are there any commissioner feedback or thoughts in what I just shared and how we process through this? Things to be mindful of.
Commissioner Trent Davis, considering what you just said, which is a very good point, that would probably narrow the focus on what the ED could speak on their own. But it's impractical to think that 12 months of our work is focused down into 2 months of legislative activity, and unless we're going to have emergency meetings twice a week, the ED is going to have some leeway.
I will share my thought as I see our ED is putting the code in to get in verbally. My thought is if the ED is speaking on behalf of the commission, there needs to be commission agreement, but also recognizing that because of the timing, that might not be possible. Having a clear expectation that the ED as an individual can say what they want to say and what they want to present, but when it comes to an official representation from CAC, that there needs to be an opportunity for agreement. Unless with the caveat of there are some established priority areas, like we voted on priority areas, which is things we're going to focus in on. And if there are things that directly tie to those priority areas, there being some. And let me let Stacy go, because I know she has to check off. Executive Director Neal, your phone's muted too. I don't know if you know how to unmute it, or can you unmute it? And if you make me a host, I think I can unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Whew. All right. So, yes, these things are happening in real time. And I think the issue is more of, I don't know what the issue is. I mean, I try to put it as clearly as possible in the proposed bylaws change. I think I'm okay with this notion of I can provide, or that the executive director can provide neutral testimony, because that would definitely stipulate that they can say something. Because I think the issue is that sometimes there are bills that are coming up that may impact our community, to at least be able to get on the record and say something. I mean, in years past, honestly, in years past, I have given testimony often because things go so fast without necessarily informing the commission about what I was giving testimony on, because for the most part, I figured everyone would be in agreement. There was one instance in particular where I thought, okay, this is something that is not, I know we probably are not in agreement. And I specifically put in the testimony, the commission is not unanimous on this position, right? Like I put it in the testimony that the commission itself was not unanimous in agreement on the thoughts about this particular bill. And no one questioned it. I think this is just an issue of trying to make sure that we're just make sure that we know the bill. And I know I knew this bill was coming up. It was the bill with the DEI situation, and I called an emergency meeting, and I did everything I was supposed to do. We publicly noticed it. I put out so it was done the right way to try to have this discussion before the testimony was due. We didn't make quorum in that particular meeting because it was outside of the regular, you know what I mean? What can we do? And it was decided. And so, for example, I didn't provide testimony. I got testimony in a different direction, and others provided testimony. I think if you're asking my professional idea about all of these things moving forward with legislation, is that even if whether or not CAAC as a position, if there's not testimony coming out on CAAC's letterhead on a position, I cannot stress to you enough how much you guys are all citizens of Kansas, for whom you are more than welcome to provide testimony on any given topic, right? Because I think especially if it's something where the commission may not be in agreement, right? So I don't know. I think it's sort of two things. I think I would like to have the conversation, and we're pretty much out of time here, about how the commission decides on legislative priorities. I can tell you, because I've had conversations with KAAAC, right? One, their priority list is much longer than ours. So I will take responsibility for that, because I forced you guys, like, you just got to pick 3 things, because, you know, we were all over the place. So there is discussion about this notion of having a wider berth, that the list is a little more broad. Of course, KAAAC spends a lot of time developing that. We didn't really spend a lot of time developing that, and theirs is done by November. So that by the time the legislative session starts, the executive director already has an idea of what to look out for. Whereas we didn't do that outside of elections board commission. Like, I mean, like, the things that are obvious I would look out for. But, like, for example, our priorities don't include anything related to DEI. So while I could take a stab in the dark about what we might think about DEI, we have not discussed it as a commission. So for me to stand up there and say, I represent the commission, anyone on any given dais would have to say is, does your commission know you're here? And I would have to say, well, no. And then they'd say, well, how do you know the commission? You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I'm like, okay, if we get something in some place where at least the director can say, well, I can at least stand up here and give you education about what this bill will do and how it'll impact our community. All I'm doing is give it and provide neutral testimony. Without, like I said, without going, that's why in the bylaws, it was suggested providing neutral testimony, not necessarily a proponent or opponent, but at least to get on the record. Because let's face it, there's a lot of things I think are happening to a lot of communities where I would like to be on the record. So, but that's just it. And in that case where I couldn't get clearance, I know Dr. Crystal did provide testimony. I know there were other voices that weighed in. So, like, testimony was provided, but I did not provide testimony with the KAAAC hat on. So that's a potentially a missed opportunity for us to get on the record officially.
Thank you, Executive Director Nell. Is there any feedback or thoughts on this? And again, I know we're at limited time, but as long as we are still on, any feedback and thoughts on this? Or have you all already had an opportunity to look at it and are ready to make a motion on the direction to go? Commissioner Trent Davis.
Thank you. Please ignore that phone and bring it in the back. I think this has narrow enough limits, and particularly the way Edie just described it, that this doesn't hurt us at all. It can, I think it helps us get input on the record. You know, that he or she, in this case, she would be comfortable giving. Unless there's other discussion, I'll make a motion, but it's up to the chair.
Is there any other discussion? So, Commissioner Trent Davis, can you restate what your motion is, and then I'll ask for a second?
Yeah, I'm looking. I printed all this stuff up. I would move that we adopt a bylaw change. There was a number on that bylaw change, wasn't there? Or I think. No, maybe there isn't. A amendment to our bylaws that would grant the executive director legislative authority between meetings. Probably the easiest way to summarize it.
Is there a second to Commissioner Trent Davis' motion?
So moved.
There has been moved and seconded. Ready for the question? All in favor?
Wait, could you restate that? Can you restate that exactly? So for the minutes that you're granting.
Commissioner
I think
Trent
he
Davis
was moving
Yeah.
to adopt the language that you presented.
Oh, okay.
The amendment is titled Executive Direct. The Section X, legislative engagement and authority of the executive director.
Okay. T. Davis
So-
moved, and
I'm
Mark
sorry.
McCormick seconded it.
Yeah, please, I was reading too literally. Change that section X to section 10. I'm sure that's a Roman numeral. Okay.
So what was moved and seconded was moved by Commissioner Trent Davis, seconded by Commissioner Mark McCormick, to go ahead and approve or accept the provided draft amendment, section 10, legislative engagement and authority of the executive director. I called for the question, I believe. I will recall. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Signify by acknowledging opposed. It has passed. Okay, so moving quickly through the remainder of the agenda, if possible. You're gonna have to find it, sorry.
It's just the announcements.
Okay, you wanna go
So,
ahead,
and
Patty?
it's just that Black Legislative Day is this coming Monday, February 9th. The event starts at 10. Registration starts at 9:30. I'll be on site and docking at 9. Commissioners, if you could be there, especially MCs, if you could get there around 9:30, just for the sake of my blood pressure, that would be great. And then I will probably keep open. Well, I was going to take this out actually of the agenda, about to sign up for committees, because I think at that point we'll probably just do a call in the room. The only other thing on the announcement is the sign up code for the KLC grant spaces. That's it.
Okay. Okay, are there any other announcements for the good of the body? With that, is there a Commissioner Trent Davis?
Yeah, there was House Bill number 2708. I don't know the status of it now, but in short, it seeks to combine the executive directors of the African American, Latin American, and Pacific Islander. I'm getting the names screwed up, I know, into one executive director who would administer all 3 commissions. And I think, while the state has opened its eyes to realize it has had problems how it's treated citizens of non-mainstream origin, I don't see any one executive director being able to be dedicated to 3 rather different and diffuse missions like that. I would personally like to, I don't know, I guess it'd be testimony at this point, since there's a bill expressing opposition to that plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Trent Davis, for that pause to go in deeper. That was mentioned in the executive director's update, but we did not go into more detail on that. If we have been made aware that is legislation that has been entered. I don't know if there are any updates on, things are moving quickly. I don't know if there's any updates on what has happened. Executive Director Nell, if you can provide just a general overview of what your understanding about this legislation, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, it's 309. Honestly, this is like, can we meet on Tuesday? Like, I'll post the meeting. I'll do everything, because like, this is not a 7-minute conversation. Quite frankly, Dr. Trent just gave a pretty good summary of what the legislation is. There is absolutely no way we can have this discussion in under an hour. Like, this is an hour-long discussion, and we would be short shrifting to try to discuss it. But it's also part of the reason why I wanted to get that amendment in, that if something does happen crazy, that I can at least do something without, like, if we call a meeting and we don't make quorum, right? You know what I mean? That's the issue. The last thing I will say, like I said earlier, is that if you read a bill, you are all citizens of Kansas, and if you read a bill and you have thoughts or opinions or anything about what this bill states, please, 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 please exercise your rights as a citizen of Kansas to provide testimony on your own, so that you yourself do not have to wait for the commission, right? Like, it's nice. I understand that it's nice to have commission testimony and to be all fancy and have the governor's, letterhead, but that's part of the reason why this amendment, like, sometimes we got to go quicker than that. And so if you read something and you're like, I love this bill and this is awesome and this is what we should do, write the testimony. If you read something and you're like, oh, this bill is horrible, I hate it, I write the testimony. Like I can't press you enough that if this is, because they are moving very fast. They are moving so fast. And there's going to, it is realistic that we will not be able to pull together and come to some unified voice. I see that there's power in a unified voice, but I think there's also power if 6 pieces of testimony come in from 6 people, as opposed to 1 piece of testimony with governor's office on it. I'm always going to say that.
In the case of those individual submissions, we acknowledging that you sit on the commission is allowable. We all have a right to our own opinions as individuals and constituents of the state, with the acknowledgement that we wear the commissioner hat, as well as the power to be able to have a collective from KAAC itself. That could be, make it 7 then, add 1 more, the collective as well voice. Stacey, you mentioned meeting. We know we're going to be together. The majority of us will be together on Monday. But it's going to be a lot going on, so perhaps Monday is not the opportunity. But you said Tuesday. You want to schedule something for Tuesday morning or propose something for Tuesday morning to come together?
Are you guys free on Tuesday morning? I mean, and a lot an hour. I mean, just to make sure that we have time to. Am I free Tuesday morning?
I'll speak for myself. I'm available before 10 or up until 10. I see a thumbs up. So you have 2. I see a nod. You have 3.
What time are we? Early morning works. The 12 to 1 works. 9 to 12.
When you say early, Commissioner Trent Davis, what do you mean?
7:30.
Okay. So that's 4.
I mean, the good thing about a Zoom is you don't have to turn on your camera and you can be in your pajamas at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know about my Tuesday schedule yet. It's possible, but I don't know.
It's 7:30 or 8 o'clock.
Yeah, actually, I'm booked Tuesday morning, and I'm on the road in the afternoon, so I could probably do a Zoom in the afternoon, but not in the morning.
For myself, I'm in a training from 10. I'm done for the day until the early evening. So Stacey, it sounds like you can get the majority of us as early as 7:30. It seems like there's a willingness as early as 7:30, or maybe 8 a.m. is a more opportune time. Ideally, we want to be able to have everyone, but it sounds like everyone, the majority have expressed morning is going to work best for them. So if you could go ahead and send out an invite for whatever time, sounds like from 7:30 on Tuesday, we can get back on. Commissioner McCormick, I hope that you can join in, but we'll take notes, or if you can provide your perspective. I'd love to have your voice as a part of the conversation too, because I know you have insight and experience. But here we go with calendars. So Stacey, if you could try to get whatever time we could work in the morning on Tuesday, let's get back on to have some detailed conversation. In the meantime, we have an approval if something happens even sooner than that, which may happen. Any other thoughts or perspective before I ask for motion to end today's meeting? Alvaro, and hello.
Hey everyone, I look forward to seeing you all on Monday. I just wanted to echo the same message of Dr. Crystal Davis is in the chat, and also shamelessly plug the Latino Legislative Day is this February 26th. So if you want to share that with your groups and let folks know that we'll be at the Capitol that day as well. We look forward to seeing everyone. And I also see Commissioner Mark McCormick has an event before the Dole Institute. So I just wanted to highlight that, and yeah, wishing you the best in that. And yeah, that was all.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure, I'm aware what the event that Commissioner McCormick is doing. Am I behind? Am I missing something? So maybe that could be shared in an email set or a text so we can know. And
I have a teaching fellowship at the Dole Institute this semester.
okay, in general, okay. Kudos, kudos. Okay, is there anything else for the good of the body? What I'm understanding is next steps is we will be meeting, well, we'll see each other at the Black Legislative Day for the majority of us, and those who aren't physically there will be there in spirit. And then Tuesday, we'll be back on the Zoom for more conversation on some of this legislation, as well as anything else, Madam Executive Director, that we need to be mindful of, that you feel we need to
Nope.
have on our radar.
Nope. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, is there a motion to conclude today's meeting?
So moved.
Is
Commissioner
there a
Trent.
second?
Commissioner Ramsdell, I'll second that.
Then move to second. Are you ready for the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.